189,000 young women in Bangladesh who are sewing garments for Walmart. These workers are getting up at 5:30 in the morning. They brush their teeth with their finger using ashes from the fire because they can't afford a toothbrush. Forced to work from 8 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week on these wages of 13 to 17 cents an hour. These are women who are hit by their supervisors, trapped in utter misery. As the largest company in the world, Walmart sets the standards that other companies are going to follow. So Walmart right now is sucking down standards all across the world. These are workers who have no rights.
The outlook for this company today is very positive. In every country that we operate in, the Walmart model works.
Because once your associates know that you will stand up for what is right, then when they see a wrong occur, they're more likely to contact you. And we have a very aggressive program underway to make sure, and have had now for the last couple of years.
I was a global services manager for Mexico, Central, and South America. My job function entitled 3 things. Oversight of all factory certifications, which means you go in there and you make sure that they're humane working conditions. Big deal with the factory certifications is to make sure that the workers are in a clean, safe, humane environment. When I was in the factory and you talk to the people and the people were so nice and they were so good and they were just working for so little money and without any condition of fairness whatsoever with their compensation and their working conditions. I went back to my hotel room and just wept the first time. And after dinner, I had picked up the phone. I was calling my wife and just telling her what I'd seen, and then I just started crying about that. Telling her. She was like, "It's gonna be all right." And I'm like, "I know, we're doing the right thing," but I just couldn't imagine it was this way. I thought that a company like Walmart, once we started reporting the truth of what was happening in the factory, would take quick action to try and make the working conditions better. I believed in the mission and the culture which I thought existed at Walmart. I led more Walmart cheers than just about anybody that I know. Didn't even mind being the squiggly. I mean, if you would have cut me, I would have bled Walmart blue blood. I didn't know that we weren't going to make it the goal to correct the violations. And I didn't think that any retaliation would be brought against me for doing my job. Now I realize I was pretty naive, but it just didn't occur to me that Walmart would do anything except for the right thing once they were faced with the truth. I kept going into other factories and seeing the same things over and over again. And it became apparent to me that this was not an isolated issue. All you got to do is follow the money, and the ones who are in power right now have tremendous pressure on them to perform like never before. The system was designed to keep the goods flowing to the United States. When push came to shove, they did not stand up and do the right thing. What really happened was we were getting fired for telling the truth about the factory certifications. And that was shocking. It was embarrassing, it ripped my heart out. To have all of that ripped from you and then to get sold out and lied to, Walmart let me down, and when I needed somebody to look out for me, even though I was trying to look out for Walmart for years.
Every child has the right to. It is easier to be ignorant and say I don't know about the problem. But once you know, once you've seen it in their eyes, then you have a responsibility to do something. There is strength in numbers, and if we all work together as a team, we can be unstoppable. Craig Kilberger.
No one knows exactly how many slaves there are today, but a global slavery index by Walk Free Foundation puts the figure at around 30 million. The scourge exists in every country, but 10 nations alone account for 3/4 of the world's slaves. Almost half are in India, where slavery ranges from bonded labor in garment factories to commercial sex exploitation. Next comes China, followed by Pakistan, Nigeria, Ethiopia, Russia, Thailand, Democratic Republic of Congo, Myanmar, and Bangladesh. Many of the enslaved are trafficked into prostitution, but far more are forced into manual labor or domestic servitude. They work in mines and factories, on ships, farms, and building sites, in hotels and private homes. Slavery is all around us. It's been linked to the supply chains of many everyday products, from shoes and bags to matches and soccer balls. It lurks in the commodities that fuel the global economy: cocoa, coffee, precious metals. Multinational supply chains are sometimes so convoluted and opaque that it's hard to pinpoint the agent or subcontractor using slave labor. From frozen shrimp to mobile phones, how can we be sure the products we buy weren't produced through human misery? What can businesses and consumers do to guarantee the things in our lives are genuinely slave-free?
That there are more slaves today worldwide than in any other time in history. In Haiti itself, it is estimated that there are more than 250,000 children that are part of the Rest-of-X system. Rest-of-X are children that are often given away or sold by poor families in order to survive. These children are removed from their parents and sent to live with other families where they are treated as slaves. We're not talking about child labor. We are talking about real slavery. The same type of slavery that also occurred back in the 1700s. Children that are forced to work against their will for long hours in plantations or in domestic labor, where they're often abused by their owners and denied any form of education or basic health. This is a reality today in Haiti, a country that was formed by freed slaves and that yet has slaves today. The worst part is that slavery is becoming something common in Haiti. 1 out of 3 homes in Port-au-Prince, the capital of Haiti, has a child living in Rest-of-X. This is mainly due to the fact that Haiti is unfortunately one of the most poor countries in the West, and slavery ends up going unpunished, even though it has been illegal for hundreds of years. The poverty of the government doesn't have the capacity to fight this case. Millions of dollars have already been donated to Haiti, but it isn't enough. The problem is that there's very few awareness about this issue in our society. We interviewed more than 30 people asking them if they thought slavery was abolished. 23 out of the 30 people we interviewed answered yes. Knowledge is power, and everybody needs to know what is going on in Haiti so that slavery could be abolished once and for all. Slavery isn't something that people will just learn to have to live with. It has been abolished for hundreds of years ago, and it shouldn't be a problem now. By simply sharing this video, spreading it out to the world, you're already making a huge difference. Increase awareness so that more people will join this cause. The more people know about this, the better. Make donations, because there are children out there that are being sold into slavery by their families because they're too poor to raise them. Donate in the internet by sites such as freetheslaves.net, notforsalecampaign.org, abolishslavery.org, and many other organizations that are also in the fight against it. Slavery is wrong, and it shouldn't go unpunished. Share this video, donate, spread it out to the world so you can also be a part of abolishing slavery.
On this farm, we find Abdul. He's survived 3 years of work. He's just 10. He earns no wages for his work, he says, just food, the occasional tip from the owner, and the torn clothes on his back. Put in the simplest of terms, Abdul is a child slave. We move away from the group so he can speak more freely, and through our translator, he tells us his story. If he had a choice, he wouldn't work. Abdul says he's from neighboring Burkina Faso. When his father died, he says, a stranger brought him to Ivory Coast. Abdul has never eaten chocolate. Tells us he doesn't even know what cocoa is for. We met Yaku on the same farm, also from Burkina Faso. My mother brought me when my father died, he tells me. Yaku insists he's 16, but he looks much younger. His legs bear machete scars from hours clearing the bush. The emotional scars seem much deeper. I wish I could just go to school, he says, to learn to read and write. But Yaku says he's never spent a day in school.
Whether you're interested in the latest designer labels or just want something comfortable to wear, clothes are a basic necessity of everyday life. But how many of us know the full story behind how our clothes are produced? In the former Soviet Republic of Uzbekistan, 1/3 of the population are forced to work for the state-run cotton industry. Most are children. Schools are shut down as boys and girls as young as 7 are made to work 70-hour weeks. A lack of modern machinery means that the majority of cotton is picked by hand, and it's back-breaking work. Every child must fulfill strict daily quotas.
Many students have said that we are like slaves, and we are tired, we want to go home, we are hungry, we are cold.
Separated from their families, the children are housed in Soviet-style labor camps. With no access to clean water, many risk poisoning, drinking straight from irrigation canals. Europe buys 1/3 of Uzbek cotton, contributing $350 million annually to one of the world's most brutal regimes. In May 2005, government forces ruthlessly crushed a pro-democracy demonstration, killing over 500 innocent civilians. The next time you buy new clothes, spare a thought for those who bleed and sometimes die for them. Ask your retailer where their cotton comes from. Only purchase organic and fairly traded products.
Nanquang Garments produce clothing for Nygaard and Reebok amongst others. On the 4th of August 2011, 500 workers at the factory went on strike in protest to the company's ill treatment of its employees. The factory employs underage girls, a claim substantiated by the admission of a 15-year-old worker we met outside the factory.
Tony's 15 years old.
She's 15 years old, and she works in the factory?
Yeah.
Okay.
She paid per month $30.
Paid per month $30?
Yeah.
Can we see her identity card on the camera? Can we see your card?
They illegally take these girls on in exchange for cheaper labour costs. The grateful teenagers forgo their transport allowance, work long hours of overtime, and accept a pitiful wage. The factory reportedly forces workers to do overtime, typically demanding between 10 and 12 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Some normally he works for 1 day, he works 8 hours, but normally she overtime until 4 hours more.
4 more hours. So she works 12 hours a day.
12 hours.
The factory does not provide any paid sick leave. They demand that sick workers continue to come to work. This obviously hinders the recovery of the afflicted worker and encourages the spread of disease. The factory reportedly discriminates against pregnant workers. It recently dismissed 2 women for becoming pregnant to avoid paying for their maternity leave. These women now have no source of income with which to support themselves through pregnancy and to provide for their children.